Welcome to our science class, children. Today I am going to show you some of the material from earth which you have seen in daily life. So let us see first what I am going to show you.
Soil is the loose material which is present on the earth. Most part of the earth, the landforms, are covered with soil. Soil provides nutrients for the growth of plants, and in turn these plants give us and animals food. It is also the building material and home for many animals and things that we use in daily life. It is not only dust, it is the most important part of the earth and it sustains life. Soil is not formed in a day. It takes millions of years for big rocks to become soil. With the help of water and air and the conditions of weather, soil changes its form from big rocks to its powdered form. These huge rocks breaks down into smaller pieces and scatter here and there, and slowly and gradually it becomes into smaller pieces. Soil not only contains rocks and pebbles, it is also a mixture of dead and decaying animals and plants getting mixed with the top layer of the soil. When the leaves fall off the trees, they get mixed into the top layer of the soil. Slowly these leaves rotten and breaks down into bit-sized pieces, very small pieces, and forms another part of the topsoil, and it is called humus. Humus is very dark in color as it contains all the dead plants and animals. Let us learn what is soil and what does it contains. Soil contains rocks and pebbles, dead and decaying plants and animals, air and water. It is a mixture of all these things. Do you know, children, how soil is formed? All huge rocks on earth gradually turn into soil. Due to a process called weathering, all huge rocks breaks down into smaller and smaller pieces and finally comes to a powdered form which we call soil. The topmost layer of the earth contains humus. Humus is the nutritious layer of the earth. It is the crust of the topsoil. Then subsoil is a mixture of clay and silt. And finally, the bottom of the soil has big rocks. Let us see what kinds of soil does this layer of earth contains. How soil looks and feels tell us about its properties. Is it good for growing plants? How much air and water does it hold? To know more about it, let's see the different types of soil. There are three different types of soil: sand, silt and clay. Sand comes from tiny pieces of weathered rocks, and different between soil types is the size of the rock particles. Sand has the largest particles. It feels rough. It has air spaces between the particles. This air space allows water to drain off quickly out of the sand. Sandcastle washes away with water because it does not hold too much of water. Silt has medium-sized particles. It feels smooth when wet. It contains packed particles which allows less water to pass through. We can see the footprints of bird on silt. Clay has the most tiny particles of rocks. It can be molded. It is packed and has very little space of air to pass through. Hence, it can hold any shape because it can absorb lot of water. Do you know which soil is perfect for the growth of plants? Sand cannot hold lot of water for the growth of plants. Clay cannot hold lot of air for the growth of plants. Humus is the soil which is called loam. It is a mixture of sand, silt and clay, and the topmost layer humus, which is the dead and decayed particles of plants and animals. So the combination of all these four makes garden soil or loam soil, which is good for the growth of plants. Around our school, I was able to find some of the different types of soil. Here you can see in this video, I can see some of the tiny particles of rocks which is called a sand. It has a very rough texture and you can see tiny particles of soil, and it is very loose and it cannot absorb lot of water. And do you know where do we use sand? Yes, it is being used here for the construction. So maybe near some construction sites you may find a lot of sand. Then in our ground I could also find some silt too. Now here you can see silt absorbs a little amount of water and air too, and when it is wet it becomes sticky and the texture is also sticky and a little smooth, though it cannot hold shape for a very long time just like clay, but it is wet mostly. And the color is quite reddish and brown. Next, on moving around in the ground, I could see the top layer of the soil in which plants grow. What is it? Yes, it is humus. The topmost layer of the soil is called humus, and it is the garden soil which is called loam, which is a mixture of sand, silt, clay and humus. This garden soil is black in color as you can see in this pot, and some bits of wood which are decaying in this pot. Some dead leaves also are there which are decaying and forming a layer of humus. Look around in your house if you can find some of that soil.